It's 1999. The NBA just went through a lockout. The Spurs, a team that won just 20 games 2 years prior, claimed the championship, on the back of newly minted superstar Tim Duncan. The league was going through a transition period. The old waves of superstars were getting older, and the new generation was about to take over. However, that offseason, all eyes were on a particular duo. The Phoenix Suns acquired 28-year-old Penny Hardaway in a sign-and-trade to pair him alongside Jason Kidd, who, at 26 years old, was considered the best point guard in the league. This duo attracted an immense amount of hype. The media labeled them Backcourt 2000. After the departure of Michael Jordan, the league was starving for some perimeter-dominant teams. It wasn't just about two stars teaming up, it was about two guards who were the most exciting players to watch. Two guards who can pass and create their own shots, a team built around a fast, athletic backcourt. It was different from the norm, as back then, teams prioritized a slower-paced, grinded-out game. The idea of Backcourt 2000 challenged that notion. The duo of Kidd and Penny was supposed to launch the NBA into a new era of high-speed, guard-dominant play, a style of basketball that really didn't take off until the 2010s. Unfortunately, this duo played together for just 2 seasons before Kidd got traded to New Jersey. What went wrong? Was it all out of their control? How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and let's get started. Also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to subscribe. If you like the content, drop a sub or a like, and thank you so much for the support. First, let me give you some context on how the league saw Kidd and Penny at the time. When Penny came into the league, he was considered as the guy to take over MJ's throne once he's gone. He drew many comparisons to him early on, and when the Orlando Magic reached the finals, everyone thought this was just the start of his NBA legacy. Penny was unfathomably popular, to the point where even Shaq got jealous of the attention he got, which played a role in him leaving for LA. Heck, even in 1998, when he played 19 games that season, the fans still voted him into the All-Star game. That's how popular he was. However, it was that left knee injury he suffered early that year which caused his career to crash. But you gotta remember, even when he joined Phoenix, he was still expected to make a full recovery. People thought, hey, there's no way this knee injury could be that bad. Penny was still very young and will most definitely return to full strength, right? Before we get into that, let's take a look at Kidd. He was leading the league in assists with over 10 a game. He was grabbing like 7 boards a game, which led all guards. But he didn't have the same reputation as he did later in his career when he joined the Nets. At this point, Kidd was still known to be a hothead and had plenty of personal issues, which I'll talk about later. Regardless, he had a heavy hand in recruiting Penny, as he was one of his biggest fans. Coach Danny Ainge stated, "Jason was acting as assistant general manager once again, calling, pleading, and trying to get us to get Penny. It's just very exciting from my perspective. All of a sudden, I really believe that this puts us as one of the elite teams in the NBA. Our expectations are much higher than they were a week ago, in my view, and I welcome that. I look forward to coaching this team, which has great upside." Now, the season begins. 20 games into the season, Danny Ainge stepped down from head coach with a 13-7 record. It was unfortunate because he had a good rapport with Penny. Throughout the season, there were plenty of ups and downs, so let's take a look at the positives first. When Scott Skiles took over as head coach, the first thing he did was implement a rigorous defensive game plan. Despite him being a first-year coach and the youngest coach in the league, the players supported him and went along with his ideas. As a result, they had the second-best defensive season in franchise history, limiting opponents to just 93.7 points a game. Opponents shot just 42.4% from the field against the Suns, setting a new franchise record for the lowest opposing field goal percentage in any season. Now, let's get to the bad news. Injuries plagued the entire team, with a total of 269 games missed due to injury among all players. Their starting 5 only played in 13 games together. The fact that they finished with 53 wins with all this adversity, it's incredible. For Penny though, he did not look anywhere close to the same player he once was. By now, he was expected to fully recover from the knee surgery, but he lost a significant chunk of his athleticism. No longer could he blow past players in a blink of an eye. Instead, he moved out towards the mid-range and started taking more jumpers than ever before. His true shooting percentage dropped a whopping 5 percentage points compared to his best years in Orlando. Penny also missed 20 games due to a foot injury, which hampered his lateral quickness even more. Not only that, but what doesn't get talked about is Kidd's injury. Late in the season, in March, Kidd suffered a severely broken ankle. It was so bad that he wouldn't come back until Game 4 of the playoffs. This injury also caused Kidd to change the way he played. Remember, when he was young, he was an athletic dynamo. But over time, he wasn't explosive anymore. He became the steady, solid, level-headed point guard we all knew by the end of his career. This injury had a great deal to do with that because it hindered his explosiveness. Regardless, Kidd's injury plus Hardaway's foot problems resulted in the two of them playing just 45 games together. In those 45 games though, they went 33-12. Plus, you add on the season-ending injuries to Tom Gugliotta and Rex Chapman, two key role players who held the team together, it was a disaster of a season that somehow still turned out quite well. In the playoffs, the Suns breezed past the defending champion Spurs, although Tim Duncan missed the series with an injury himself, so it wasn't much of an accomplishment. In the semis, they'd fall to the Lakers in 5, as their bigs got eaten alive by Shaq. All in all, considering how many injuries they suffered collectively, it was certainly a successful season. Jerry Colangelo, the chairman of the team, stated, "To have gone through this kind of adversity, to list the players that have gone down with illness and injury, and to take it, it's like taking a number of bullets and still be standing. It's a tremendous accomplishment, and I think the job the players and the coaching staff under Scott Skiles, what they've done, what they've accomplished, makes it a very special team." What seemed like a great sign for the future of this franchise, it all came crashing down a year later. Remember earlier, I mentioned that Kidd was still in his growing phase. Nobody doubted his talents, but his maturity and demeanor was another question. Early in 2001, he got accused of domestic abuse. His wife, Jomana, called the police after Jason punched her in the mouth. You know what's even worse? When it was reported to the media, Jomana said, "Don't worry about me, this is minor compared to what I usually go through." Yikes. When this was brought up to Kidd, he responded, "I have issues that I have to work on." Yeah, that's putting it lightly. While this didn't affect his on-court production, it was the main reason why the Suns traded him away after this season. He was kind of a head case, and they didn't want to deal with his off-court antics. To make matters worse, Hardaway underwent 2 microfracture surgeries on his left knee, the same knee that caused his demise in Orlando. This forced him to miss all but 4 games. Without him, the Suns were still pretty damn good though. They had a deep squad that included Cliff Robinson, Rodney Rogers, and a young Shawn Marion, so they still won 51 games. But they severely missed Hardaway's playmaking. It was a quick first-round exit. With the Suns trading Kidd for Stephon Marbury in the summer of 2001, this marked the end of a promising era. The Nets didn't know it at the time, but they were about to get the man who would change their franchise forever. As for Hardaway, he eventually returned to the court a year later, but at this point, he looked like a shell of his former self. Within a few years, he went from a rising young superstar to a role player struggling to find his place. The Suns would linger in mediocrity until the arrival of Steve Nash. In hindsight, there wasn't much they could do about it to salvage Backcourt 2000. Aside from Kidd's preventable off-court drama, the injuries absolutely killed them. It was ambitious to assume Penny could bounce back after leaving Orlando to begin with, and the signs of him deteriorating were quite obvious. The Suns had a well-rounded roster, but Kidd had yet to develop into the complete player he eventually became in New Jersey. It just wasn't the right time for this duo to blossom. Anyway, that's all folks. One of the most heavily anticipated duos failed to live up to the hype, to no fault of their own. If you watched back then, what do you remember about Penny and Kidd's time in Phoenix? Did you actually think they could reach contender level with their squad? Considering how good they were on the floor together, going 33-12, I think they had a chance if they stayed healthy. Granted, the Lakers kinda took the world by storm at the same time, so it would have been a long shot for the Suns to win. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed the video, and of course, as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.